And hello, good evening, one and all, and a very, very warm welcome to what is the Muscle Health Foundation Charity's seventh episode in our 2021 series of conversational chats with fascinating guests and personalities called In Conversation With, hosted by myself, Michael McGrath. And we've got a treat for you in store this evening, I can promise you. As I've mentioned previously, these informal conversations can be entertaining, they can be captivating, they can often be very witty, and as always, we hope they are enjoyable and they are uplifting to you, our audience this evening. So they're intended to bring the charity's tribe, of course, of our muscle warriors and all of our families from around the UK together, our community of young people and adults with muscular dystrophy, helping everyone feel just that little bit more connected. And before we head over across the pond to the west coast of the USA, it's a first for our In Conversation With series, yes, to Los Angeles, to LA, to welcome tonight's very, very special guest. I want to once again transmit through the airwaves gigantic quantities of virtual hugs and loads of love and heaps and heaps and heaps of hope to our community, to our families, to all those with muscular dystrophy across the land. Even though much of today's national press, I'm sure that many of you have tuned in and heard perhaps what's gone on today, is focused on it being the last day of shielding, which translated means that the nearly 4 million people who are quote unquote clinically extremely vulnerable will no longer be told to stay at home. And you know what? There are mixed emotions. People I know are feeling a little unsettled, a little anxious as society begins to relax out of lockdown. And I, for one, am still focused on preserving my own sanity and my own well-being by continuing to apply a mix of coping strategies. And I know that many still plan to shield, as I do, until we've all received the second jab. Many, I know, don't feel confident in going to public places just yet, this despite everyone else starting to socialize and meet under the rule of six. The rule of six. Now, there's a tune right there for tonight's guest to perhaps shape up. Anyway, to all of those that tuned in this evening, know that you're not alone, that we're listening to you, that the Muscle Health Foundation charity is here to help you however we can and to let you know that we're thinking of you. We're thinking how you must be all feeling as shielding restrictions are lowered. We're thinking of your well-being. So let's crack on with tonight's show. And without further ado, a few key housekeeping points. Number one, a little safeguarding note. As always, we have eyes over tonight's broadcast. So if any inappropriate comments or unacceptable behaviors are observed, action will be taken. And secondly, all episodes are recorded and streamed on the charity's YouTube and Facebook channels. And as always, you can help expand, amplify, grow our reach by subscribing, commenting, and of course, sharing. So ladies and gentlemen, the best way to introduce James Ian, tonight's very, very special guest, is simply for me to invite you all just to kick back for a minute, to chill out, relax for the next couple of minutes as JI wants to say hi. So we're going to actually revisit that little moment. I'm going to tee it up for you once again because we had a little gremlin that decided to make itself known to us. So let's do that again. So the most fantastic way to introduce our very, very special guest this evening, Mr. James Ian, who's hanging out in LA as we speak. Tonight's very special guest is simply for me to extend an invitation to you all to sit back and to chill out for the next couple of minutes as J.I., here we go again, wants to say hi.
There's something about music that people just really get excited about. And so I've had like these really cool, deep connections with complete strangers playing live. My name is James Ian. I'm a singer, songwriter, and actor. I am driven, creative, musical, artistic, and I'm really excited about the things that will come, hopefully. One day, my dad asked me to get up out of a chair without using my hands, and I couldn't do that. They determined that I had spinal muscular atrophy type 3. After my diagnosis, I was depressed. I just didn't know my place in the world, and I didn't think I could provide value, really. It was through music that I was like, there's something else better out there. I was fascinated that I could just tap into something that was very primal. I thought I could use music as a vehicle to raise awareness about SMA, and it's been a really fun ride ever since. Having a disability makes music and acting very, very difficult. A few years ago, I started to notice a decline in the things I could do, I could no longer do, and that was definitely scary. Everyone's out here trying to go after what they want, and so I see that on a daily basis, and I'm like, let's work even harder. I've done a lot of things that people told me were impossible and I would never do, and I've done them. So if you can do what you want to do it. Physical stuff ain't important.
So give it up for James. Hey, James, good morning.
Hey.
Good morning. How are you? How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. How's LA today?
It's good. It's I think it's 88 degrees is the high, so we're getting some really warm weather. It was like that yesterday too. So
it's really, really great to have us have us be a part of your day, your moment in time, and thank you so much for being so generous and giving up a bit of your time today. That's really, really appreciated. So I've got to start off by giving a shout out because, hey, most important person on the planet, your mum has tuned in this evening. Am I right?
Yep, she is. She's there. So
so this is hello to Gail. Hello to Gail.
Hey, Mom.
From all of us here in the UK. So there's the shout out to your mum. So listen, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, goodness me, and aspiring actor. Come on then, James. Kick us off. Tell us a little bit more. How did it all start to begin for you?
It all began. I actually started playing piano when I was around 5 years old, and fell in love with music. I remember, trying to write songs at a really young age. Loved doing that. Just really like it freed me, and did the piano for probably like 6 years or so. And when I got to around the age of 11, I started wanting to do sports more, and I had done soccer and baseball and basketball at a young age, and really I loved them all. Really, really loved basketball, and around the age of 11, started to want to do that more. And so I kind of put music by the wayside. And right around the age of, I had always exhibited symptoms of SMA, but around the age of about 14 going on to 15, I started to have more, I started to fall a lot more. And I told, in that video, I told the story about my dad kind of noticing what was going on. And so, got my diagnosis of SMA and really retreated, to be honest, into myself. I was still doing sports a little bit in high school, playing basketball, but then, I hit a growth spurt one summer, I think between junior and senior year. And I started to notice it was a lot more difficult to do things. And so I just kind of retreated, and I really started to latch on to music more and started to do singing. I was singing in groups and stuff. And so honestly, I really rekindled the love of music kind of through the SMA diagnosis.
So let me dive in there for a second, because we're going to talk a little bit about SMA and muscular dystrophy in a second. But your craft has been described as, and this is what I discovered, okay, music that melts listeners with the quiet intensity of your voice and lyrics, never loud, never vulgar. The power in James's music comes from the sheer depths of his emotion brought forth with penetrating, poignant lyrics and a voice of honesty and unabashed sincerity. So, James, where does this amazing gift come from?
Oh, well, thank you for those words. It just I think the perspective just comes from living, and I think artists are pretty introspective, and I think they kind of view the world differently, at least the creative types that I know. And so, I look at the world, I think differently. And then I think also having the disability, I view the world very, very differently and, and attack it from different angles. And so it feels like it comes from that place of like, trying to make sense of things and really trying to find beauty wherever you can and as much as possible.
It's interesting you talk about your perception of the world, or how you see the world and how you process the world, and that your disability in some ways that has helped you to do that, and you see the world in a different way. Is that the case with many people that you know, perhaps with a disability? Because I see that in people that I know with a disability, how they process the world.
Definitely, yeah. I feel like it's a very common theme amongst the disabled people with disabilities.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump into the chat room a minute, because Charnette Robinson says, "Hi, we're tuned in. This is truly an inspirational, creative, awesome stuff. Thank you, Charnette. Where are you in the world, Charnette? Drop us a message wherever you are in the world."
Hey,
James, you're laughing. You might know who Charnette is. I think there's a clue there.
Yep. Love Charnette. Yeah, so she's family.
Good stuff. So I want to move the conversation on a little bit to muscular dystrophy. You touched on SMA. So you were born with SMA, spinal muscular atrophy, for those that don't know, or SMA, the abbreviated version, type 3. I know there are a number of different variants, but you know what you continue to do, you continue to defy stereotypes of disabled people, and that's really important. All right. And what I'd like to know is just tell us a little bit more about your diagnosis and its impact on your life thus far.
Yeah. So I initially was misdiagnosed with muscular dystrophy, which is kind of what I'm learning is common in the SMA community, especially with, I think, my type, which is, they kind of call it like adolescent or later onset. And so for me, my difficulties are, I can't run or anything like that. Ascending stairs, sometimes descending stairs is difficult. Getting up from seated position is difficult, especially stuff that's low seated things. I have weakness in all of my limbs, and the big thing for me, honestly, is I will fall down sometimes, and I cannot get up on my own. And sometimes like my arms don't break my fall, and so I've definitely bloodied my face. And so that's probably the bigger concern for me is hitting my head or something and then not being able to get up on my own. There was a point in my life where I could do that, but that ability has been gone for some years now. So
in the little film that we watched earlier, I had this vision of you sort of crawling over the H of Hollywood and being abseiling down and then into the field and then walking out. Tell me about that moment in time.
Yeah. So to get there, so we were doing the shoot for the video, and I had 2 of the crew in my car. And so for the Hollywood sign, you can drive up, and then it kind of loops around, and you take a little tourist trip, if you will, and then circle back around. And you're not supposed to stop your car, but there was no way I was walking up the hill, number one, to get there. And I had my guitar and stuff, so I couldn't do it. So we're driving back down the hill, and the crew's like, "Hey, we got to stop here so we can just get you out, unload you, do your thing." So I do that. And as I get out the car, it takes me a little bit of time because of SMA. So I'm, doing the best I can. And some dude behind me is just like laying on his horn, screaming at me. And I was worried about, like, I have a really fiery personality when stuff like that, especially with like disability or racism or any injustice, like I lash out. I mean, I can't contain it. I'm very passionate. And I was worried about, like, what will the crew think if I like let this dude have it, So I'm just like biting my tongue, and they're trying to like make it go smoothly and be all like, you're like, hey, it's all good, you know. And they saw that I was like getting riled up. And so it was just a weird start to it because I was so angry and I had to like go and shoot this thing. And this dude's just being such a jerk. And I'm like, I'm only here for a minute, man. Like, there's a whole line of cars. No one's going anywhere. Yeah. And so it was I had to take a few moments and under the tree, hit the shade and kind of mellow out. But that was a fun start, you know. So
very good, very good, very good. I'm just absolutely shocked, James, that your entourage didn't carry you and your guitar to the position that you needed to be under the tree to get a bit of shade and have a cool drink before you then strummed the guitar. So listen, you know what? I know that very few people with SMA type 3 actually have any breathing difficulties, which for someone who, amongst the many talents and gifts that you possess as a singer, gosh, you must have been relieved that your ability to be able to fill your lungs with air and be able to, you know, sing and use your gift in that way, that must have been a relief for you.
Yeah, you know, I didn't realize, Michael, about the I actually didn't realize the breathing until I became more you know, ingrained in the SMA community, and I saw my friends that were, you know, type 1 and type 2, you know, needing assistance to breathe. Yeah. And it never really occurred to me, and so I never thought of it. But I did an event once, and someone from the audience was like, "Wow, your voice is really, really strong. Like I can project, you know." And I was like, "Wow, I you know." So I'm really, it is good for what I do, you know. But I definitely always think about now. I feel for the folks that have that difficulty, you know, and so I understand that it's I'm lucky to be able to do that because I love to sing.
So those with SMA, and for those that don't understand what spinal muscular atrophy is, and type 3 specifically, I'm talking about life expectancy now. Is that impacted just in terms of SMA 3 or not really?
No, it is not. But you know, for the other types, it can be. Luckily, there are some new treatments that came online within probably the past 4 or 5 years that are now helping to extend the life expectancy, thankfully. But it does not impact for type 3. No.
Are those drugs around extending life expectancy or actually halting the deterioration?
Yeah, so it's the latter. They halt the deterioration, but I think it has been able to, you know, one of the effects I think is the extension. So
so let's have a brief conversation on the pandemic. You know, so how's your part of the world coping? I hear that numbers are rising across the US. How's it in your part of the world?
Yeah, I mean, we did initially with the lockdown. California did well. We jumped on it early, but you know, as time went on, I think people got fatigued being inside, you know, and so we definitely had multiple surges and stuff. Right now, though, I think the numbers are ticking up, but we've done a good job here in the state of with vaccinations. And so, you know, we have really good numbers for that. So I'm hoping, you know, things are good. But me personally, I've been locked down for this whole time. You know, I've seen a few people for the holidays, like my brother and sister, only a few times. So I've been in just to be safe, you know.
Come on, let's talk about haircuts then. Who's been doing sort of lockdown coiffeuring and haircutting in your part of the world?
So I do it. I used to always go to a barber pre-pandemic, like pretty often, you know, like keep it tight, like once a week or so. And pandemic hit, and I was like, oh no, how am I going to do auditions? Because my sides are short, you know, so I was like, this is going to be bad. So I bought a pair of clippers. And I taught myself. So I typically I like tie my hair up on the top, put a knot up there, do the sides. But because of the SMA, I do have trimmers. And every time I cut my hair, I accidentally clip it. And then I'll pull out like 8 inches, like a strand. And I'm like, I done it again. I did it last night, actually. I cut like an 8-inch strand, and I was like, "Come on, man!" So
you're getting yourself trimmed up, looking sharp for the show today. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm going to jump into the chat room. Kaylee Yedel says, 100% accurate description. Love your music, James. Janet Barber says your perception is awesome. Love ya. Adriana Elena says this is excellent. Sydney Strickland says very, very good. Hope Swan, love you. You've got your fan club in here, right? Okay. Your fans are here today, clearly.
Love all those. I did a music event with Lee actually, so years ago. So love all you and thank you.
Excellent. So James, bit of a gear change. We're going to talk movies now. Okay, so kicking off firstly with, the rock musical drama film that is Purple Rain.
Yes.
Starring Prince. All right.
Yes. Yep.
Come on then, tell me a little bit about it. It's your thing, isn't it? It's one of your top movies.
One of my favorite movies of all time. I've always been a Prince fan musically, and I saw Purple Rain for the first time like kind of later in life. I was in like my 20s, mid 20s or something. And I was in law school at the time actually. And I stumbled upon it and I was like, this is incredible. And I watch it all the time. Anytime it comes on, I've introduced friends to it. My friends are now like, this is one of my favorite movies. But the music is great, but I also really love the acting and the plot. It's just it's just Prince all the way through. And how can you not love that? This is great.
I discovered earlier, I was just Googling and discovering a little bit more about it. It was developed to actually showcase Prince's talents.
Yeah.
And it had like several concert sequences in the film, as you know.
Yeah.
Featuring Prince in action and his band, The Revolution.
Yep.
And it's a film that's clearly remembered for its music, and the soundtrack album, can you believe it? Incredibly produced not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 top 40 hits.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a beloved pop masterpiece,
Yep.
And then talked about Cooley High. I got a confession to make, James. I've never heard of Cooley High. I need to get out more clearly.
No, it's kind of a sleeper. I think it was made in 76, I think. And it's like a coming of age film about Black youth in Chicago. And I discovered that movie when I was in college, I think. And it just spoke to me. There's 2 main characters. One is a basketball player, and they're essentially about to go off to college. One's a poet, and I love basketball. I'm an artist, love poetry, and it just really spoke to me, and like them trying to, get to college and like all the things that go into like with being a teen, but then having those other, really serious concerns to deal with in life. And it's a lot of humor in it. Glenn Turman's in it, who I love. Like it's one of my favorite films. Love
Excellent. Just jumping back into the chat room because it's hot tonight. Ira Gray McNeil, she says, you're such an inspiration to us all, and we're so proud of you and the strength that you have. Love you. And Barbara Sims says, you're an amazing inspiration. Ariel, Ariel Thomas. Now, who's Ariel?
That's my sister.
Hi, Ariel. Hi, Ariel from the UK. He's doing a good job for us tonight. He really is. Do you know what? Ariel says, I love hearing your perspective. Thank you for sharing your story with the world.
Well, me too.
And one of our long-standing beneficiaries, and a fully fledged muscle warrior, which you're about to become. You're not quite there yet, James. Not quite there yet. Hi, Jean-Luca. Great to see you. Jean-Luca says, hi, James. Hi, Michael. Don't know if you've already discussed it, but my question is for James. Which singers and musicians inspired you the most? Great question. Thank you, Jean-Luca.
Yeah, I love like Al Green is big. Sam Cooke, Prince, obviously. Love Lenny Kravitz. Just like a lot of the old soul folks. Nina Simone, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, just Whitney Houston. All the lovely folks. I mean, they're phenomenal talents.
So James, you may or may not be aware, but we're doing something a little different with these In Conversation with broadcasts. All right. So we've got 2 quick fire rounds. It's kind of a way to allow people to get to know our guests a little bit more. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So Marmite or Vegemite, love it or loathe it?
Love it. Love it.
Okay. Strawberries or blueberries?
Oh man, strawberries.
Okay, ready for this one? Steinway, Bechstein, or Fazioli?
Steinway.
Most used emoji on your smartphone?
There's like a dancing guy that does like this. That one.
Okay,
dancing.
Cool. Scrambled or hard-boiled eggs?
Scrambled.
Most listened to song on your playlist?
It's a Friends by Division.
James Brown, Otis Redding, or Sam Cooke?
A Sam Cooke.
Acoustic or electric guitar?
Electric.
One item that you take to a desert island?
My playlist. Music playlist.
I thought you were going to say your mum for a second.
You said item, right?
One item, yes. Oh gosh, that's one strike to Michael. So we got some quick fire questions lined up for you a little bit later on, but I'd love to chat with you about this particular photo. Tell us a little bit more about what this is, James. What's going on here?
Okay, yeah. So this is Livability magazine. The editor actually has SMA as well. They found me, I forgot how, and they told me we're going to do an article about you. And so it was happening right as I was moving from San Diego to LA, and it was a really cool project. And so this shot right here, it was a long day. It was a lot of like wardrobe changes and stuff, which is difficult for me. And so this shot, they took me to Coronado, which is like a really beautiful part of San Diego. And to get this shot, there were like these like really big jagged rocks, and one was like probably like 4 feet tall. And so the photographer was like, "Can you get up on here?" And I had on boots and stuff. And I was like, this is probably going to be tough. And he was like, "Well, I'll help you." And I was like, "All right, well, let's try it." So he helps me up on there, and like, I'm just like balancing because I'm like, I'm going to fall off and break my teeth. Definitely that's going to happen. So I'm standing there, and he's like holding my hand. I get my balance. He's like, "Here's your guitar." So I put the guitar over me, like trying to balance, and then does this really cool over the shoulder shot. So then he was like, "All right, I want to get some more. So I'm going to help you get down." So he helped me get down, and he's like, "Sit on the rocks," which was like, it was really unsturdy to do that too. I was like trying to balance. So he's like, "Here's your guitar." And so I'm sitting there just trying not to fall, and he snaps off these shots. And this is one of the ones that came out. So when I moved to LA, I thought it was just going to be the article. And the editor was like, "Got a surprise for you. You're on the cover." And I was like, man, that is so cool and so nice. But it was such hard work to get that shot, and it turned out I like it. And I was just like, the story behind it was fun because I probably shouldn't have taken the risk. But then I was like, you got to take the risk to get a good shot. So I did it.
We live in it's a great shot. I think it's a great shot. And we live in a world that's headline driven. All right. So people don't read the stuff. They don't read the detail. They look at the headlines, they click on the headlines. So that headline was James Ian finding an identity. What was the story about?
It was just, like I said with the earlier, which I kind of touched on in the video, we live in such an ableist society, and portrayals of people with disabilities in the media are just, they're absolutely terrible. And there's so many negative stereotypes and perceptions are derived from those portrayals. And so, growing up, I never saw people with disabilities on TV or anything. When I did, they were just, characters who were supposed to be pitied or were like the butt of a joke, or they were trying to overcome the disability, or, they were romantically undesirable and all that stuff. And so I had a really hard time. Like, I didn't necessarily feel that way because I felt like with my crew and my friends, they didn't see me like that. But then I was like, should I feel this other way though? Because the TV is telling me to feel that way. And so I just felt very torn and conflicted all the time about who I was. And so, really tapping into the artistry and music. And it's really helped me to figure out who I am. I'm an artist, and that's my identity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about ableist society. Where would you say in terms of the ableist society barometer? 10 being we're there, 0 we haven't left the station. Where are we at, do you think?
Oh, we're probably at 1 max. I mean, we're probably like a 0.5, And I say that because the conversation is happening, at least in Hollywood. I'm an actor. And so I am kind of like up to date on that stuff. But outside of that, they're still not where they need to be. And society at large is definitely not there.
One of the areas of the conversation that we wanted to chat about briefly was dating with a disability. What are your views? What are your perspectives of that?
Oh, I mean, it goes back to that portrayal again. And I always thought for a long time, especially, the years of like high school and going into early college, I just thought like that was not an option for me because of what I saw on TV, with people with disabilities. And so, but then again, the reality was not that. And so, people, people did like me and wanted to date me. And I had a really hard time processing because I was like, what's going on here? This doesn't add up, So once I started to be much more open about the disability and talking about it, it was like a non-issue. I mean, I've dated a lot and it's been really fun and good.
Good. And it sounds like you've got an amazingly supportive family because they're all tuning in today, which is great. But in terms of support, okay, here's the question: Do you have any top tips for young people in today's world starting, their own journeys of identity?
Yeah, I would say if there's something that you're into and that you love to do, lean into it and explore it. It might not turn out the way you think it will, or maybe, the results aren't there, or maybe your skill level is not there yet. But if you want to do it, I would say try it. I feel like that's what life is about, and exploring it. And I also too would say, I think ableism makes some of us not want to ask for help. And I was that way. I never wanted to ask for help. Ask for help because you'll get there, I think, sooner.
Interesting. Great answer. I think asking for help, everyone needs to ask for help,
right.
Irrespective. It's okay. And I know that you've spoken up in the past, and I'm sure that you will continue to speak up in terms of what sits behind this phrase, authentic representation in media, and specifically honing in on intersectionality of race and of disability, of fashion, for example, and disability. How do you think the media can perhaps more effectively help support young people navigating their intersectional identities, if you like?
Yeah, I would say, I think it starts with like production, writers and producers, and, at the executive level of studios, record labels, what have you. Those folks should be represented as intersectional people, people of color, Black people, people with disabilities, all walks of life, trans, everything. So all those, they will influence that. And then, the one big area for me right now is like the authentic representation is like, for acting at least, is cast people with disabilities. If the role has a disability, cast someone with a disability. There's no reason that a non-disabled actor should be playing, someone with a disability. That should never happen because they get it wrong. And I think when they do that and try to figure out what it's like to be with the disability, then I think you can also, it almost becomes like a joke, and you're kind of making like, satire, like you do a movement because you think that's how someone with a disability moves. And that's offensive and disrespectful. So I think, have people in front of the camera, the musicians, on the radio, the executives, the decision makers, have those folks represent all the intersectional people of the world and all the walks of life.
It's an interesting word, isn't it? Because it's a word that, 10 years ago really wasn't being discussed a great deal. It's now much more prevalent, and it's much more in conversation. And, whilst diversity, equity, and inclusion, these words are being used a lot more and are relevant to everyone, yes, as a society, I think we've still got a long way to go, and we've got so much to learn about each other, about our different cultures, about difference, about respecting and valuing our differences as people. So as a talented artist, if there was one thing, James, that you could change, was within your gift, within your power to change, to help embed understanding, what would that be?
That's a tough question. Do you mean in general, or do you mean like in like the media and entertainment industry, or do you mean at large?
Okay, let's just hone it in on your world, the media industry.
Yeah,
one thing you could change that could help to embed that deeper understanding.
Yeah, like get outside of your bubble and meet other people, and not just meet other people, but take the time to educate yourself and learn about Black history, disability history. Enough people don't do that, and the onus is often on the marginalized community to do that. And it's not on us to do that. I know tons about European history and American history that, where Black history was left out of because that's what was taught in school, so I take it upon myself to educate myself to do it. So you can do that. So just learn, there's nothing wrong with not knowing, and it's never too late to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People are very afraid to say certain things and broach certain subjects, but it's just like, you can pick up a book or go on your iPhone and read an article, and that will do a lot of, that'll help. They'll get the ball rolling.
I was being curious earlier by learning more about Prince's life.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that 10 or 15 minutes of time that I invested to discover more about Prince and more about his world, and that curiosity that sits within all of us.
Yeah.
I think it needs to perhaps come out even more.
Yep.
Across the generations, by the way. I've got a picture that I want to pop up here, which is I just need you to help me to understand what's going on here. Who are all these lovely people?
Yeah. So in the dress, that's my sister Ariel. Love you, Ariel, who commented earlier. So Ariel is a musician, phenomenal.
Hey, Ariel.
Exceptional, best singer I know on the planet. I will die by that statement. And so she was in a band. She went to school for it, and it was this is the first time I got to see her perform live, and so it was like a very proud older brother moment. I went to Chicago to see her band perform, and I get there and I did not know that they were opening for the Blues Brothers. And I love Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd. I love she as well. And so it was just like a really fun night. I mean, Ariel killed it. Great to see her just doing her thing on stage. And so afterwards, like I said, I had no idea the Blues Brothers were there. And so we get to hang out with them a little bit and like take a picture. And, I'm definitely fans, and I'm a fan. And so it was like a really special night. Went to Chicago to do it. My buddy on the right is Sven, good friend from college who lives in Chicago. So I got to see him, but just a really cool night. And to cap it off, not only to witness my sister, to see her doing what she loves and just excelling, but pick with the Blues Brothers, and they were like really cool, humble people. It's nice. So loved it.
Maybe we need to be inviting Ariel to be one of our future In Conversation with guests. How about that? Just give us a tune. I'm going to jump into the chat room. Hey, Dan, great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Michael. Hey, James. James, it's been amazing to hear your story. LA must be an amazing place to be a musician, following on from what you guys were just saying about the world being ableist. What has your experience of the music industry been?
Yeah, so the music industry, I actually wrote an article about UK music venues and accessibility. The music industry is, I think, a lot farther behind in terms of Hollywood, which is scary. Like, venue accessibility is completely lacking. I mean, for me, I always have to get on stage, and stages never have ramps. They're elevated. They might have stairs, and so all that's difficult. I mean, I've had to be like sit on a stage and like have my bandmates lift me up to get on stage. I've often played venues where there's no elevator. You either go downstairs or upstairs to play. You're carrying your guitar. And so it's just, if you're a wheelchair user, like you're completely barred, and so it's really lagging. There's no hearing loop or anything like that, no ASL. So they're just, I've pretty much every gig I've played, I've faced some sort of challenge to try to get to the stage, or what have you, whatever it may be.
It's challenging. I read the Disability Horizons piece that you did on accessible venues here in the UK. So that was a great job, actually, because it's important to spotlight this, isn't it? Janet says, hi, jumped in the chat room. She says, James, your personality, honesty, music abilities, and your heart are outstanding. And that is what people see when they look at or talk to you. You are an exceptional person with a little love heart. That's beautiful. Ariel says, you're too kind. I don't even know what to say. It was also my first attempt at bangs. And Sydney Strickland, she says, excellent. Sydney says, excellent. Thanks for that lovely comment there, Sydney. So James, second quick fire round. You ready to rock and roll?
Yep. I was going to say, love Janet. That's my aunt. Love Sid. Very close family friend I've known for a very long time.
Nice.
So.
It's really nice that the family's supporting you. So
yep.
second quick fire round. Here we go. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Banana and green tea.
Well done. Green tea, very good. Food hell. So food that you don't like.
Like a raw tomato.
Food heaven.
Anything French.
Chocolat.
Love it. Love it.
If money was no object, what would you be doing?
I would just be. I think I would be doing like a lot of disability rights work. And like start a nonprofit and probably geared around media and entertainment and do that.
Brilliant. Do you have a favorite word or a favorite phrase?
So this is pointed out to me probably like by some friends, but I say "yeah, man" a lot. So like "yeah, man." So yeah, man.
I thought you were going to say "J.I. says hi." Anyway, best bit of advice that you'd give your younger self.
Forget the rules, and if you love it, do it.
Nice. One thing that you're excited about that's coming up this year.
I'm going to. I'm supposed to go to Australia to do some music and event for SMA Australia. So really excited about that.
Fantastic. And James, if someone were to play J.I. in a movie, who would you want it to be?
Oh, that's tough. And I don't know any. I don't know any disabled actors who would do that. So outside of that's really hard. All the folks are older than me. I would say Lenny Kravitz. I would say that.
Okay, cool.
He's old, he's older, but he looks really young. So yeah, let's go with Lenny.
Lenny. Okay, good stuff. So listen, here in the UK, but I know this individual is quite well known in the States as well. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. Have you come across Dr. Rangan Chatterjee? He's a British physician, and he's a TV presenter, podcaster, and he does this wonderful little intervention every night with his family around the dinner table. Okay, and it's the concept is all around something called the 3 Ps. So in other words, spotlighting, gratitude, and gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
So James, you've been a fantastic sport. So here we go. One person today that you're grateful for.
My mom.
One pleasure today that you're grateful for.
Chocolate.
And something that's been promised that you're grateful for.
Opportunity.
Yeah. So let's just have a quick brief natter on lockdown. How has lockdown changed the way, James, that you've had to live your life? How's it been going for you?
I mean, luckily, I know a lot of people are really, really, really suffering, and my heart goes out to them. For me, luckily I work and stuff, and I can do music, and I audition via Zoom, and I take my acting class via Zoom. So the biggest difference for me has been, the social interaction. Obviously, I pretty much stay to my house. One effect I have noticed, I think, is like I try to like exercise a lot, just because that's something I like to do. And I do that, but I have noticed, like, I think not being just like out in public and just like walking down the street or just kind of like running errands, I feel like that is maybe it's kind of like it's like affected my mobility a little bit, I think. Like I do stuff here, but I've noticed that. So that's been a big one for me, Do
you know, we all recognize that now more than ever, we all need something to really lift our spirits. Yeah. And so James, if you could invite, two well-known people, two celebrities, two famous people to your home for a jug of green tea to help lift your spirits, who would they be and why?
Barack Obama for sure. Love Barack. And then I mean, Oprah. I'll say Oprah. I mean, she's just, they just, they've done, like, not only do they do, they're skilled in so many ways and excellent in so many ways, and they have all these offshoots that are also very successful. And so, and I just love their points of view and their philosophies and their beliefs. And so, yeah, that it would be chat with them and sip some green tea would be quite nice.
It would be very good. I mean, she's very. Oprah is a massive champion of social justice.
Yeah, and Barack has he and Michelle produced Crip Camp, which is up for an Oscar, the documentary. I'm friends with Judy Human, love Judy, and so he's done incredible work, and in my opinion, greatest president ever. So,
and talking about your fascination, who makes you laugh? There's a chap called who is it? The American stand-up comedian.
Yeah, Richard Pryor. I love him. Like Dave Chappelle too, and Eddie, all this. But Richard Pryor, I was always a big fan of. I love his stand-up. He just has such like a biting take on things, and he's like really, really silly, and like he almost has this effect where he doesn't really care about what's going on outside of himself, and I like that. But I'm a big fan of his movies too. Some of his comedy are just, I love Richard Pryor.
I can just jump back into the chat room. Hannah Grace. Hi, Hannah. Thanks for tuning in. Hannah says, hi, James. What inspires you to write songs?
Hi, Hannah. Everything, love, loss, figuring things out, feeling good. Like ideal states, like an ideal future state that I might think of. Yeah. So like everything, I mean, I'm always absorbing stuff, and just kind of like jotting stuff down when I get an idea or so.
Good stuff. So tell us about, James, tell us about some of the goals or aspirations that you want to achieve in your world, in your life.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. So for that, the big thing for me is I really would love to be, I want to book more acting roles. The dream is to be series regular on a series, be in film, be a leading man in film. We haven't seen that, with someone with a disability. So I want to like flip that idea on its head, do that. I want to book a lot more modeling gigs. I want to model for some of like my favorite brands like Jordan, Nike, all that stuff. And then for music, I would love to, have like put out like a full R&B album, and, have that do well. I mean, ultimately I'm trying to get to the point in my life where my creative things, that's what I do. And that's how I earn a living. And I don't need another job to sustain myself. And then from there, I want to be able to bring up other people, other people from marginalized communities and give them some spotlight and let them tell their story.
You heard it here first. Zebedee Talent. If you're tuning in tonight, you know what you need to do.
Shout out
to Zebedee Talent. We're going to just do a little bit of a gear change in this particular part of our conversation. So we touched on race a little bit earlier. All right, I sensed your passion on this particular subject. So tell us a little about how your single, the musical single, "Make a Stand," which I believe is now on various streaming platforms. Tell us about how that unfolded.
Yeah, so I was in the process of writing a song for an artist, an R&B artist, and as many things in that industry, how it transpires is nothing happens. So I was asked to write a few songs, and never happened. But I had written I think I'd written the piano for this first, and it was like August 2017, and I was just kind of struggling with the words, and then I saw the Charlottesville, the terror attacks unfolded, and I was just watching the news and I was livid. I was just so mad. I have another sister, and she went to UVA actually, and so I saw that, and I've been to UVA a bunch of times, and it was like hitting close to home, and all of a sudden the words just flowed, And I think I finished it in like 10 minutes. And I was like, I got this song, like, got to record it. And it took a while to get it out there, but that's where it came from. And so it's about racism, fighting that. The original album cover had someone in a wheelchair user on it. So it, it was also kind of broad range of just like all of this discrimination and, like all the oppression. Like, you gotta like, we gotta make a stand against it.
So we got an image, a photo coming up. Tell us about this image, and then James, I'm gonna put you under a little pressure here. Hopefully not, but I'd like to invite you maybe to sing a verse or two.
Yeah.
Of Make a Stand. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll definitely
about the image.
Do a verse for you, Michael. Yeah, so this is like this photo. So I used to be on an indie label, and I recently parted ways with them, and so I had to, like, I'm in the process of putting my music back up. Make a Stand is the first one, just because it's probably the most important song I've written. And I found this photo, and I really liked it because I often just feel like powerless with it, like with like all the fighting that we have to do, in this country and then in the world. It's just, I just feel like we'll never get there to where I want to. It often feels like that, but I know that I have to still try and, have hope. And I like this because the background of it's like dark, which is what I often feel. And then it's like a little, it's like a dim light, and then the light, as it comes to the forefront of the picture, it gets brighter. And that is exactly how I feel about, racism, ableism. It's like you want to give up, but then it's like you can't. And so you just have a teeny bit of light, and it hopefully gets there. And then at the end, it's like, you gotta put your fist up. That's like that's the symbol. That's power right there. So that I think it's a great image. And I just, I put the little title on there, but I think it's really appropriate, and it really just hit me as soon as I saw it.
Can we invite you to do a verse or two for us?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll do a verse of it.
Yes.
Verse. So yes, the first verse of Make a Stand. What do you see when you look at me? Is it beauty outside and in? Or do you feel fear and jealousy because of the brownness of my skin? We've been fighting the good fight for what seems forever and a day. And things ain't easier, but we will find a way.
That's fantastic.
Thanks, Michael.
That's me clapping. Thank you, man. That was absolutely wonderful. Alice Gray's just pumped on. She said, "You are such an inspiration, Lil Cuz. Love you, baby. Love you, baby." Very quick question, because time is tight. Joseph Almeida said, "What role do you feel music plays in social change?"
Joe, what's up? He's a buddy of mine from college. Thank you for tuning in, and hope you're well. Yeah, I think it plays. Honestly, I feel like arts really push social change. I think it always has. Sam Cooke, A Change Gonna Come, and just all those songs like that from that, especially like civil rights movement. I think it really pushes the culture. You had folks like Muhammad Ali and Nina Simone, and like talking about these issues and putting it in their music. And I think art, you have a way of like internalizing art, I think, on a subconscious level. Like I repeat lyrics to songs, and I think that helps to, like, when you have a social justice message in your song, like you kind of walk around, you end up repeating it, and it just gets spread like that. So I think it's huge. Art has always played such a big, vital role in social change. I think it always will.
In terms of Make a Stand, you would have seen the scrolling message on the screen for those that have tuned in this evening. We're thrilled. In fact, here's a breaking news story. We're thrilled that the charity's 657 Uplift playlist on Spotify now includes J.I.'s song "Make a Stand."
Thank you. That's awesome. That is so cool. Thank you so much. It's man, really appreciate being on there. So thank you so much, Michael. That's fantastic. Really
So,
cool.
James, final question to close off this evening's conversation. You've been an absolute star. You've been a great guest. I've really enjoyed having you. So I can't believe that nearly 60 minutes has flown by. Is it crazy? But one thing then we can all do to perhaps, make the world just a little bit of a better place. What would you think?
I'm gonna go back to learn about your fellow human being, and take the time to like really listen to them and try to understand as best as you can.
James, huge thanks for being such a terrific guest. Muscle Warrior salute to you, my friend.
All right, there we go.
Muscle Warrior salute. Well done. Good man. And if you've enjoyed tonight's episode, please can I ask you all to make a donation, knowing that you'll be helping the charity give even more hope in bringing, a little magic, a little joy via our virtual muscle dream efforts. Thank you so much. And James, I've got to ask, if you know someone, I think we've already established that we know who this might be. If someone you think would make a great guest, perhaps for one of our future In Conversation With episodes, don't think too hard.
Yeah,
have a chat with Ariel. See where we go with that one.
That's
and so finally, breaking news, a little drum roll. Brrr, there's the drum roll plug time for our next In Conversation With guest, taking place on Wednesday, the 14th of April, kicking off at 7:30 p.m., episode 8, and where we will be joined by sports physiologist and England para football physical performance lead, Chrissy Langley. So that's Wednesday, the 14th of April, 7:30 p.m. There's the diary date once again. Huge thanks to our guest, James, J.I. in LA. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, getting to know you over the last week or two. It's been a joy. And to our StreamYard studio manager, Grace, superbly assisted as always by Shari Lee, by Joe, and by Lindsay. Thank you all again for supporting tonight's broadcast. You guys rock. For now, have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.